Well, we weren't quite fast enough. Hello and welcome everyone, it is me, the lover, also known as the Power Doodle, is back for you with another episode of Bulk-Only Yu-Gi-Oh! Last week we gave Speedroids a first try in the series, and I honestly believe we were onto something. I think we won't go in depth into the bulk this week. Maybe I'll later on go through a couple of things. But mainly I want to get through the kind of tin eye, set to the side in the last week, where I put some of the other, cards that we picked out from, looking through everything, and then maybe, use those cards to hopefully fix up the deck a bit and see if those cards cannot, improve our chances at getting some wins in. So we'll just put this to the side here, and I will, put this together depending on how many things I find that I believe are interesting for this. But yeah, this week, I don't know. I don't think we'll do many changes. We'll maybe, try and assemble something resembling a side deck, possibly, because that could be quite interesting. But otherwise, I'm feeling pretty good about this deck, to be honest. That's why I think I'll mainly stick to that. Maybe we'll play two of the Hop-Ear Squadron here. I don't think a Kite Drake needs a Wind Machine Tuner. That's a bit rough. But I'm definitely considering adding back the Quick Draw Synchrons and the Chevalier de Fleur. But I'm mainly concerned with possibly putting together some sort of side deck. And I think this could be decent even for the main. But we'll definitely try and side deck these. Since I've seen a playset fairly close by here. Even if this is 2003 at its finest. Maybe I'll have another quick look through some parts of the bulk, but I think this will be mainly what I want to get into the deck this week. Set this one to the side as well, and then we can see if I don't find anything interesting here. Even if this is the 15th time I'm going through these cards, but maybe I have missed something previously. Because currently I would like some more extenders, to be honest. That is my... You're a machine tuner. Huh. But you're not really that good. Maybe pull a tribute to the Doomed here. I think I saw one of those in the other staples we put to the side for this. So maybe I might need to take a second look at that. Something else interesting in here? I don't know. I don't recall putting these in here, but maybe we'll visit that at some point. Now this would at least be funny. She's even an 8. Doesn't make Kite Drake, but potentially a free 2500 body. Sadly, don't have a tuner Synchro Monster to go into this guy. Stardust Assault Warrior would be very lovely. But I think I'll put out a Totem Bird, because we can definitely make that. Even if we are windlocked, and we are, I think, struggling for extra deck choices more than anything. So I think we'll take what we can get. But I think I'm pretty happy with this, honestly. I think we'll do some changes with this. Maybe try and assemble a side deck. I'll definitely have to grab this tin here again. Since there was, I think, another tribute to the Doomed in here. Which was fairly interesting. Maybe side some silly counter traps. Demask Dragon. I don't know. Droghetto is also a free body, and maybe we'll put these here as well. But with all that out of the way, I do want to give a really huge thank you to you guys for the absolutely amazing support on the first episode. Not only the views on that one, but also the comments of people, you know, stating their support for the format and giving their input for this were very, very interesting. I definitely think I'll maybe, you know, pull some things out of this here and put the deck together. But yeah, I just wanted to get a really quick and honest thank you to you guys out of there. Because yeah, it's awesome to see, and this makes the whole journey, I guess, a good bit better. And yeah, let's see what we can put together with this stuff. And with that out of the way, we have our deck and actually a side deck in front of us, but we'll go over that after quickly running down the main and extra deck. We are still playing Terratop, best card in the deck, to be honest, still limited, but we will have to work with that. 3 Takatomborg, one of the great extenders the deck has access to. 3 Marble Machine, a good normal summon that grabs us our Speedroids, and one of the Speedroids we can grab off this is 3 copies of Car Turbo, a special summonable level 3 tuner. 2 copies of Red Eye Dice, level 1 tuner with some level modulation, kinda great to have. 2 copies of Denden, Daiko, Duke, another decent extender the deck has access to. And then we have 3 copies of Horse Stills to back that up. A normal summon that specials a Speedroid from hand. Wanted to, you know, put this in here to have some more playmakers going first. Double Yo-Yo for the follow-up. Then we're playing 2 copies of Quick Draw Synchron again to enable Chevalier the Flirt. 2 copies of Leaf Plays for the recurable body. Playing a Tragodia, a Guardian Eados, and a Genex LA Birdman for some, you know, free agents and some, you know, 2010 vibes. In terms of spells, we're playing a 1-for-1, a Foolish Burial, an Instant Fusion, 3 copies of Speed Recovery, 3 copies of Speed Lift, and Offerings to the Doomed, and 2 Quill Pen of Goldos in the main for some spot removal. And then for some traps going first, we're playing 2 copies of Duplicate and an Angel Statue Asia Rune. Decided to put this back in just because of how good it is if we manage to find it. Then for the extra deck, we are still playing the main man himself. 3 copies of High Speedroid Kite Drake. We're playing a Windwitch Diamond Bell. Back in the main is a Chevalier de Fleur, a Maple Maiden, a Stardust Charge Warrior, a High Speedroid Chambara, a Tornado Dragon, a Totem Bird, an Onibimaro Soul Sweeper, a Lyrilusk Assembled Nightingale, accompanied by Steel Star Regulator and Shinobi Insect Hagakure Mino, and our Instant Fusion target in the Magic Key Beast. That is a lovely level 4 tuner. For the side deck, we are playing 2 copies of Cyber Dinosaur, just a special summonable body if our opponent summons something from the hand, a Night Beam against back row decks, and then we have 2 creature swaps, 3 Fishers, a Synchro Shockwave, and a Tribute to the Doomed for some, you know, spell-based spot removal if we're going second. 2 Raigeki Breaks and a Karma Cut in case we are going first. Similar reasoning because we're citing the EMR and the 3rd copy of Speedroid Duplicate. Don't know. I think I'm definitely excited to see how the Speedroid deck performs this week. Because I do think we made some pretty decent changes to it that might help us. And maybe, well, you know, play some matches this week and see how the side deck helps this deck perform a bit better. But with that, I think we'll put this back into the digital space and see how it performs. And with that out of the way, we have a deck in front of us. This is what we will be playing for this week of Bulk-Only Yu-Gi-Oh! And honestly, I think we have some pretty, you know, good chances. Honestly speaking, I think we made a lot of improvements going off of last week. I think last week we played a lot of stuff in the deck that we really didn't need, and I think we made some good changes to it. And maybe the side deck will come in handy if we play a match. But with that out of the way, I think I'll see you guys again once I have some replays ready. And just like that, we have reached the replay section, including this first one here as an absolute meme. This week was a wild ride when it comes to replays. I've had basically everything, the good, the bad, and the meme-ish. A movie references I am probably way too young to make, but let's look what we can do against Flower Guardians that somehow run Ojama Country. I don't know what Flower Guardians do with Ojama Country specifically, but there's an Ojama Yellow, something I definitely did not get to see in game. Passes on 3 Guardians, I don't think that's how that deck's supposed to work. We, you know, put Aeados on the board, Taketomborg, and Card Turbo into Stardust Assault Warrior. Set the duplicate, which we have officially turned alive, and pass the turn here. He will flower stacking, which I think is a... Yeah, it just stacks 3 flower Cardians. We bounce the remaining Cardian on the board in the end phase with the duplicate, and just proceed to punch for game. Really just included this for the meme value of, you know, playing against something that is... this, you know, I don't even know how to put this into words, but I think we will move on to our regularly scheduled program in the next replay. And in the age-old tradition of this series, we will of course be playing against something competent as well. Playing against Sword Soul Tenyi here. Let's see how this one turns out. They're going to start off with an Ardhara into a Monk, normal summoning Moye. Would really like to have an Imperm right here to maybe stop them in their tracks, but that won't be happening as the Chizhou is hitting the board, adding themselves a copy of Long One to hand to make a Baron de Fleur. Burning us for 12, setting 2. One of which presumably a blackout, I assumed. So I started to, you know, maybe hoping that he would find himself busy negating that leave place. But I don't do much here, just committing a Stardust Assault Warrior to the board. Putting another tuner on the board here, but extending with the Daiko Duke here when, you know, I try to level modulate with the red-eye dice. He flips his sudden shift after negating the red-eye dice with this Chizhou. I do flip the Asia Rune here, but Baron tags out for Taya. Taya banishes Long One, so we go the whole Chizhou thing again. I think he... does he even make Chizhou here? No, I think he makes... yeah, he makes Chengying first, which gets Asia Runed. Vishuda bounces the Card Turbo back to hand, commits for another Chizhou, dumping a copy of Ashuna to the graveyard for follow-up, and Chizhou finding himself, and I think he draws into that Ecclesia, actually. Making Draco Berserker, leaving a Shatana on the board, which gets turned into a Monk, and this is exact game. So an episode of Bulk Only wouldn't be complete without getting dunked on by a competent deck. But I do have a welcome surprise, I think, for the last one. This is a first for the series. This is actually a match against Virtual World that I played. As you can see, our opener is fairly solid, but we are going second. But Virtual World doesn't really like have as oppressive boards as it had when that deck was still meta. I think Shen Chuche is still a very good setup, especially if you know, include the fact that you can occasionally still put a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon next to that with the help of Altamaya Zolkin, the card that our opponent is going for here. Doesn't have a spell trap to set, so he doesn't trigger the Zolkin effect here, so we are essentially just staring down Shen pass. Shen will find itself get popped by the Offerings to the Doomed, which put in a surprising amount of work, honestly. And our opponent will hit the concede button as soon as he sees us put a tuner and a non-tuner onto the field. So with that, we will move on to Game 2. Moving into Game 2 here, where I do see that he is not only playing the Virtual Worlds, but also a solid portion of punks, as we see the Ogre Dance here in hand, which we'll probably see use in the following combo. We, you know, see him go off into some Virtual World stuff here, summoning Tutu, Lao Lao, and GG. All these Virtual World names are fairly silly. At this time, having actually a, you know, set card to trigger Zolkin with Ogre Dancing for a Z-Arm and making a final Sigma, not in the EMZ for some reason. I go for the Terratop here, hoping that he will negate that. Remembering that I kind of misplayed because the first thing I should have put on the board was this copy of Guardian Aeados, which was kind of glued to my hand, honestly. Taketomborg will pull out a Denden Daiko Duke here, making Kite Drake. Attempting to Kite Drake here to blow up the board. And the thing that kind of breaks my back here is that... wait. No, this is the other replay. But yeah, I try to Daiko Duke here. Hopefully, you know, maybe can do something with that. But can only put 2 bodies onto the board, which doesn't really do me a whole lot of good. Or is it this? We go double yo-yo here for a red-eye dice, triggering Shirakusai for a quick synchro into Amazing Dragon. But from here on out, with our normal summon committed, we are kind of dead in the water. Our opponent finds a Rite of Aramis here off the top, activating the Fateful Adventure, but just casually punching for game, because this Adventurer token is just big enough, and we don't have another card in hand, so that our Tragodia walls the Amazing Dragon. But yeah, with that, I think we move into Game 3 on a 1-1 record against Virtual World. And with that, we move into a Game 3. I don't recall citing much, I think. I think I put in like a lot more spot removal because I figured it was like pretty decent against Virtual World, as that deck doesn't set up like hard negation as often as you'd expect. And if it does, mostly in the form of a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, which just doesn't deal with, you know, spell trap removal. Or like removal that is spell or trap based. You know, fires the Fateful Adventure here. Activates the Kinlong to get himself AZ Armor to his hand, equipping a Doreko bag, passing here. He does not fire the Griffin Rider on his turn, which is a bit weird, and when he fires the Griffin Rider here, I figure I can just chain the offerings, pop the token, so I turn his Griffin Rider offline. We go ahead and normal summon this Marble Machine, which I think we searched off this Taketon block, putting a Card Turbo onto the board, and making Kite Drake, blowing up the board, banishing Card Turbo on Terror Top to boost our Kite Drake by a bit, setting the Speed Lift just, you know, for the lulz, or for maybe, you know, baiting a piece of spot removal. But with that, our opponent is out of cards and will concede this match, making us the winner of our first bulk-only match. And against a fairly competent deck, I'd say. You know, Virtual World Punk probably is nothing to scoff at, especially considering that we are playing literally random garbage. Go. But I think with that, I'll see you guys again in the deck profile, and we maybe talk a bit about what went well this episode and what didn't so much. Well, I don't believe there's much to say, because I think this week the deck really performed very well. I think cutting down some of the engines, like the Gizmex and maybe some of the like one-offs we were playing last week, really did the deck a solid. I think Eados put in a surprising amount of work just as an additional body that applied pressure. She definitely is no Pancratops, but she's still 2500, so, you know, putting a dent into our opponent's life points is still something she excels at. I think, you know, putting more, you know, Speedroid starters into the deck, maybe, you know, a normal summon deck Hostels, to get additional bodies onto the board was also a right decision. Adding Quick Draw Synchron and another Leaf plays definitely made the deck feel a bit faster. I didn't see Quick Draw Synchron all that much in the games, but still having that Chevalier access, I think, in a deck that is usually windlocked is pretty damn good. Kite Drake, of course, put in a lot of work again this week, which was very nice, because Kite Drake as a card is just pretty damn solid. Having a synchro that potentially blows up the board and then also floats into an archetypal card on destruction, or just, you know, any kind of removal, actually, he just has to hit the graveyard, which is very nice. Also, side deck, I think, put in a good bit of work in the match I played. Definitely, you know, liked having more spot removal options at the ready. Honestly speaking, I don't know if we can change much. I think next week we'll probably roll up with a similar list without many changes and see if this deck does perform well for a second week. Was honestly considering maybe, you know, getting some wildcards out of the binder, because I do have a copy of a Speedroid Wheel and a Speedroid Cork Shooter sitting there. But I don't know. I felt like this really performed solid. So maybe I'll just, you know, see how this goes in another week like this, or maybe you guys would like to see how this performs with, you know, a Cork Shooter or maybe a Wheel edit, for like some more like consistent combos, I guess, because as soon as we can get to Cork Shooter, we can actually do a lot of damage. But with all that out of the way, I think this was a very good episode, and please do let me know what you thought of this episode down below as well. Yeah, with all that out of the way, I'll thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys again next time. But until then, goodbye.